There were two things once I left the government and I moved into that little place. I remember sitting there and I'd moved in, I'd finally settled in, gotten rid of everything, was moved in. And I was sitting at my desk and I remember going, what am I going to do? And what had happened is I was actually overwhelmed with freedom. It had been a very long time in my life since I had felt truly free, and it screwed my head up. And I remember kind of panicking, having almost a panic attack. And I went, wait, this is so wrong that I'm about to have a panic attack by being free.
Because I have freedom.
Because I'm free now. Yeah, I've detached all these things that had been inhibiting me without me knowing it, and kind of going, oh my Lord, what have I done? And I went back and I kind of had to do an inventory of what made me happy when I was young. Not that life was perfect then either, but what were the things that gave me joy? Yeah. I remember my dog, my shotgun, my bike, some music, and my sporting things like my basketball, my baseball mitt. You know, I lived very rural. I lived in a town of 50 people. There was nothing around. I'd have to ride 2 miles to get to this little grammar school to go shoot baskets. And I spent a lot of time outside. I spent a lot of time reading and all these things. And I just remembered going, all those items that I cherished cost far less than some 16-year-old's iPhone. You know, that was my life. That was my entire life. And I went, wow, those things kept me very, very busy. And I had to get back to that and go, okay, what today would fill in those gaps? What happened was I'd lost hobbies. And I bet a lot of people can kind of relate to that. The hobbies I had as a kid and things I did in college, I hadn't done forever. Yeah. And I realized that and I went, oh my Lord, I didn't even know how to ride a bike anymore.
That's a really good reminder for people. So you just shared with us the third leg of your stool, but start us off with, I think we skipped 1 and 2. So fill us in.
Well, and this whole philosophy evolved because I was running a health company. I was training people. I was working with athletes, and I was I was always passionate about sports and health. I changed my health and because I thought I was healthy until I realized I wasn't, and changed everything. And so I started this health company that's evolved into what this is well over a decade later of what I teach in the Simple Life. Well, first started out with the 5 principles, which I won't elaborate, but I'll give you what they were. And I came up with knowledge is power, avoid extremes, keep it simple. Irony, because that eventually became the business model. Something is better than nothing, and do something today and every day. And those were my 5 principles of teaching health and how to motivate people. Well, you would think, I thought that was fairly simple and straightforward. It wasn't. A lot of people were getting confused because I had evolved from health to this living off grid. I called it life simplicity. My journey and turned into this life simplicity kind of movement, and everywhere I went. And so the whole model changed and my business changed as I was going. And so I was having to evolve the business and notice that even those are still my principles to this day. People were a little lost on what I was doing. And they're all, what are you teaching exactly? And I went, good point. So I actually, in a hotel room before I went out and gave a live presentation at Mother Earth News Fair, I went, break it down into 3 simple points. What are you teaching? And that's where the 3-legged stool came from. And I go, what is the primary, most important thing you teach? Health, optimal health. You need to be healthy. Everything evolves from your health. Everything, your attitude, your cognitive function, your sexual desire, your motivation, your ability to deal with stressors, happiness, everything evolves from your health. Everything. That's the pinnacle. That is my number 1 focus every single day of my life, is to make sure I'm as healthy as I possibly can be. Number 2 is financial freedom by being debt free. I had never been a big debt guy. I'd always lived pretty conservatively. I always had 6 months of savings. Well, I got caught in the bubble. I got caught in the real estate bubble. I did everything right, but I got caught up in it. And I ended up in a situation that I never would have been in otherwise. So I said, never allow that again. Never allow the banks to control you. So once I sold the house, got rid of everything, I was debt free and have pretty much been debt free ever since. And I was before that. When I was young, I didn't have debt. I didn't have a credit card until I was in college. So I had been debt free a large part of my life, and going debt free I own my houses. I own my properties. I own my car. I've owned my RV. I pay cash. I finance things to leverage, but that's a little trickier. That's a more advanced part of financial freedom, being able to leverage money. But even then you got to be careful. So that's the second part, is you will sleep much better at night if you don't have to worry about that Lexus payment and that mortgage payment. I'm telling you, people, I've done it. I know a lot of people who follow me who are now debt free, own their own houses. It's a total different ballgame. It changes everything. And not only that, but it makes you mobile. That's a big part of it, is if you own your property, which I just did. I sold my off-grid house and I had no plans to sell it. But the market got hot in an area that I never thought it would get hot in. I loved my house. I built it, most of it with my own two hands. I sold it. I'm stupid if I don't sell it right now. And the market is that hot. I need to get rid of it. And so I did. But I couldn't have done that if I didn't own it. I owned it outright. So I was able to make the decision. If it didn't sell, fine. I have no mortgage, right? Worst case scenario is I end up in my house that I love anyway. It's a big difference as opposed to a $4,000 payment and your taxes just went up because they reassessed it because now the housing market's gone nuts, but somehow your income's gone down. Uh-oh, now we got a problem, right?
But what I love about what you teach, Gary, is that really what you're saying, you're reminding us that when we simplify our life and we get rid of all the things that cost us money that we don't have, that we're paying all this payment for, and we have all this debt in the back of our mind that really stresses us out, we can eliminate that. We can simplify that. We can still have all the things, but maybe not as expensive, or, live within our means essentially. And if we can take the focus off of the things and more on, our health and our purpose, then we end up having a much happier experience. And I think that perhaps also feeds very much into how you can avoid burnout.
Well, yeah. And I always say it this way. It's focusing on the things you need, not the things you want. There's a big difference between the two. The things you need will make you happy. The things you want will only make you happy for a short period of time. And then you're ridden with the debt and the item. Because I've done this. I've written books. I've got a whole book series on all this. I have a book on decluttering. I have a book on financial freedom. I talk about these things and I run people through it and I explain to them why. And, I get tons of emails. I have a lot of people who follow what I teach and read my books and listen to the podcast. So I know it works. I didn't know when I created it. I didn't know it would stick because I went out there and I gave the presentation on a sticky note and I had it. And I literally saw people's heads bobbing up and down going, yes, yes. I went, I got it. I found it. I found the meaning of what I'm doing. Now I have my life purpose. I have it dialed in. I know where I need to go. And it evolved from there into people understanding that I'm not teaching just life simplicity. The three-legged stool primarily is about freedom. It's about regaining the freedom that us people in general, I think worldwide, not just America, we've given away these freedoms that we were born with. We've given them to big pharma, big corporations, big government, Amazon, Walmart, the big company. We've given all this away and those three legs have been taken away from us, but we've given them away willingly. It's not like they went to war with us to take them and took them by force. We gave them to them so we can easily take them back. And that's what this is about, is taking them back. Now you can exercise your true free will. Now you can live the life you want. Now you can avoid burnout, because now do I get, a little hussy? You caught me. But all these world events, I live in a different world too far as I did all this stuff. So when things go bad and all this goes on in the world, I have a little different perspective. And so it kind of grinds on me a little differently, but that's just life, so what? I deal with it. It doesn't mean you're going to be immune from burnout, but I'll guarantee this, your chances of burning out are far less. Yeah.
Well, you're really eliminating a lot of the stressors that are optional. So like the things like you're talking about, if you're focusing on your health, you're making sure that you have the energy that you need to get through the day. You're getting enough sleep. You've got, your body functioning optimally. If you are eliminating that financial debt, then you don't have that thing that keeps you up at night where you're worried about how you're going to pay off all these things that you are trying to subsidize. And then, if you are really living your life purpose, then that's ultimately where you feel like you're doing something that's meaningful. And I think that helps to really make people more resilient to stress. So I really appreciate you sharing this. I think this is very, very applicable to what we're talking about here. And Gary, I know we've already mentioned this, but I want to reiterate, if you love Gary's message, certainly check him out on the Simple Life with Gary Collins podcast. And I know you mentioned about your books. Where is the best place, Gary, for people to find more about you and some of your writing?
Yeah, my podcasts and books are sold worldwide. They're all over the place. But I really try and motivate people to buy it from me. I'm a small business owner. I actually carry all my own inventories. I own all my own IP. It's a veteran-owned company. I have 2 other veterans who work with me. So I do everything in-house. I print my books in the USA. I distribute them through a USA distributor. We sell them online through the warehouse, my little warehouse that I now own, just as of this month, me and a partner. And so everything's done there. So if you go to the website, thesimplelifenow.com, I sell everything there. We ship it 2-day priority, 2-3-day priority. Again, veteran does all that for me, and he's a really good guy, him and his wife. And I really appreciate if you would buy it there. The digital books are there. You can go through. There's a pass-through for audio. I can't carry audio, but I also have a really good supplement line that I've had for a decade. And I have a couple courses on there. You can listen to the podcast on there. Everything's there. I made sure to put the website. Everything's there. And the best part is you can get consulting with Gary if you want more. You can get one-on-one time with me, and you can buy them on the website. You can buy the sessions right on the website.
Very cool. Well, Gary, you shared a lot of different information, but I always love to leave my listeners with some sort of a takeaway or call to action. And I think based on some of the things that you mentioned, early on, you talked about how you lost your hobby. And I think if somebody's listening to this right now and they've gotten so caught up with work and stress and the grind, and they've lost their way with regards to their hobby, I really want to encourage you to look for that this week. Try to find out what was the thing that maybe you enjoyed most when you were a kid, or what are some things that if you do them now, really give you a sense of joy, and make time for that. And what I'd love for you to do is leave me a message when you figure that out. Definitely subscribe to the show on Apple or Spotify. Tell us what you think about what you're hearing here today about freedom, about all these really important concepts of simplicity, purpose, so much good stuff. You can also find us on YouTube. And if you're finding us there, please do enter in some of your questions for future episodes. And of course, recommend the show to anyone who is struggling with burnout. So Gary, thanks again for being here on the show and helping everybody decode their burnout. And we will see everyone back here next week.